Hello everyone, welcome you all to the Biotic World. Today let us dive into kingdom classification. Robert Whittaker, a biologist, proposed the five kingdom classification in 1969. The five kingdom classification includes main five kingdoms such as Monera, Protista, fungi, plantae and animalia. Five kingdom classification is a very important concept in the study of living organisms. The five kingdom classification was proposed by Robert Whittaker, a biologist in 1969. There are numerous living organisms living on the planet Earth, more than 8 billion species, and new ones keep being discovered. Numerous scientists have tried to classify these living organisms for centuries. Classification is the process of grouping organisms into groups or sets based on similarities and differences that make studying a wide range of organisms much easier and more methodical. In this article, we are going to learn about the five kingdom classification in detail along with its characteristics. For decades, scientists have attempted to classify biological organisms. Among these, Robert Whittaker's five kingdom classification stood out and is frequently used today. The kingdom is the highest level of five kingdom classification, and there are five main kingdoms: Monera for bacteria and cyanobacteria, next Protista for unicellular eukaryotes, next fungi for fungi and yeast, next plantae for plants, and the last one is animalia for animals. These five kingdom classification is based on characteristics such as mode of nourishment, thallus organization, cell structure, evolutionary relationship and reproduction, and some others characteristics. These kingdoms are further subdivided into smaller categories such as phyla, classes, orders, families, genera, and species. Now you can see here a chart which describes about different type of organisms. Basically, there are two types of organisms: prokaryotes and the eukaryotes. Prokaryotes came under the Monera, and the eukaryotes are divided into unicellular and multicellular organisms. Unicellular comes under the Protista, whereas multicellular are further divided into with cell wall and without cell wall. With cell wall, there are two types of plants and fungi, which comes from the phototropic and heterotrophic mode of nutrition. The another one is without cell wall is called the animalia group. The five kingdom classification was proposed by the Robert Whittaker in 1969. It is the very important fact just to learn it and save for future for the exams and any other knowledgeable quiz or any mock test. You can get it there. Five kingdoms are included in this classification as we have studied. Now let us learn some other things about the kingdom classification, that it is the most commonly employed classification scheme of living organisms. In 1969, scientists proposed this qualifications characteristic, and the classification method divides living organism into five primary groups based on traits and evolutionary links. The five kingdom classification simplified the classification of creatures into these groups. Now let us discuss about the kingdom Monera. Kingdom Monera belongs to the prokaryote family based on its several characteristics. These creatures lack a clearly defined nucleus as well as the organelle. Now let us understand about their characteristics. Monera are the single-celled creatures. They have a prokaryotic cell with no nucleus. Monera is devoid of membrane-bound organelles. The DNA is unprotected and unbound by a nuclear membrane. It is devoid of organelles such as mitochondria, lysosomes, plastids, Golgi bodies, endoplasmic reticulum, centrosomes, and so on. Asexual reproduction occurs by binary fission or budding. Cell wall is composed of amino acids and polysaccharides and is stiff, having flagellum as the locomotory organ. Monera is a type of environmental decomposer that is normally quite minute and distributed everywhere. Monera can feed in a variety of ways, including autotrophic, parasitic, heterotrophic, and saprophytic. Now let us study about the kingdom Protista. Protista are the eukaryotic organisms that are not plants, fungi, and animals. Protists are unicellular organisms that can also exist as a colony of cells. The majority of protists live in water, damp terrestrial settings, or as parasites. Now let us know some other characteristics of kingdom Protists. Kingdom Protists are generally unicellular, but some are multicellular as well. Eukaryotic cells are seen in protists. These organisms often move using cilia, flagella, or amoeboid movement. Photosynthesis, intake, and absorption are all ways of nutrition for Protista. It is made up of both autotrophs and heterotrophs. There is no cell wall in most cases, while certain films may have one. They have organelles including a nucleus and chloroplast, therefore, some will be green while others will not. The kingdom is distinguished by the existence of a nuclear membrane. Sexual reproduction occurs through cell fusion. Our next kingdom is fungi. Kingdom fungi are multicellular eukaryotic heterotrophic creatures. Fungi are the non-photosynthetic creatures having chitin cell walls. Some examples of fungi are mushrooms, molds, and yeast, etc. Characteristics of kingdom fungi. Fungi are generally multicellular organisms with some unicellular organisms like yeast. The cells of the organism contain a nuclear membrane. Fungi are heterotrophs that can be parasitic and saprophytes. This kingdom species have a non-cellulosic cell wall composed of chitin and polysaccharides. The fungi reproduce through both sexual and asexual means. In this kingdom of fungus, there is a lack of mobility. Fungi lack chlorophyll and thus cannot photosynthesis. Fungi use starch to preserve their food. Our next kingdom is Plantae. All plants are included in the kingdom Plantae. Photosynthesis is one of the most important characteristics of this kingdom. They are multicellular, eukaryotic, autotrophic creatures. Now let us learn about Plantae group, some other characteristics. Plantae is primarily made up of multicellular creatures or the multicellular cells. Autotrophic nourishment or the photosynthesis is practiced by organisms of this kingdom. The plant cell has a cellulose-based cell wall that is stiff. Plant cell has an outside cell wall as well as big central vacuole. Plantae kingdom creatures are generally stationary. They reproduce sexually or asexually by vegetative propagation. Plants have photosynthetic pigments called chlorophyll in their plastid. Different organelles are present in anchoring, reproduction, support, and photosynthesis. Our next group is Animalia. This kingdom contains organisms that are multicellular, eukaryotic, lack a cell wall. They feed in a heterotrophic manner. They exhibit a wide range of traits and complexibilities, resulting in a variety of diverse. Now let us some other characteristics of kingdom Animalia. It is primarily made up of the multicellular organisms. There are numerous phyla and classifications in the animal kingdom. For example, Porifera, Colentrata, Arthropoda, Echinodermata, Chordata, and other phyla are examples. Another animal cells lack cell walls. We can say that there is a lack of cell walls in the kingdom Animalia. The nutrition mechanism is heterotrophic, which means they rely on other species for nourishment. Animalia's kingdom's organisms typically show mobility. They have a sophisticated organ system. They have muscle cells which allow them to contract and relax their body parts. Reproduction is a sexual process. Asexual reproduction is present in lower forms as well. Now let us see a quick review of these kingdom classifications examples. Monera having bacteria and blue-green alga, Protista having Spirogyra and Chlamydomonas, fungi have Rhizops and Agaricus, plenty have herbs, shrubs and trees, whereas animals have fish, frog, crocodile, birds and human beings. Now let us see a diverse classification of kingdom Monera. Here firstly, kingdom Monera is just divided into the two types, primitive bacteria and the true bacteria. Then it is further divided into the three parts. The three parts of the primitive bacteria, which are methane producing bacteria known as methanogens. Second, the salty or the marine bacteria known as halophiles. Third are the present in acidic sulfur springs known as thermoacidophiles. And whereas the true bacteria is further divided into the three types on the basis of staining behavior, and on the basis of structure, and on the basis of nutrition. Here you can see the gram-positive bacteria, gram-negative bacteria. Gram-positive bacteria means we get stain. Gram-negative bacteria which doesn't get stain. On the basis of structure, we have the four type of bacteria called cocci, bacilli, spirum and vibrio. On the basis of the nutrition, we find two type of bacteria: autotrophic bacteria which make their own food like photosynthesis, doing photosynthesis by the photosynthetic bacteria, and the other one is the purple sulfur bacteria. Heterotrophic consists saprophytic mode, symbiotic and parasitic mode of nutrition. Now let us see in detail about the Monera group. We had seen that in earlier slide. In this slide we have Protista having the five major groups known as the chrysophytes, dinoflagellates, protozoans, cyclinoids, slimoids. These having a diverse classification. The smaller ones is you can see here. We have next is about the fungi. Fungi having such a diverse classification. We will see in our next video about the fungi. Now let us see about the plant kingdom. Plant kingdom is divided into the two types: non-vascular plant and the vascular plant. With non-vascular plant consists of the smaller shrubs known as the liverworts, sunworts, mosases, whereas the vascular plant known as the spore producing plant having medium height, and also the seed producing plant having larger in height, just like as the other fruiting plants. Spore producing plants consist of the clade mosaics, horsetails, ferns, whereas the non-flowering plant and flowering plant are the part of the seed producing plant. Here you can see in detail as written here. You can just study and go through it. Now next we have the classification of animals. Animals are just divided into the vertebrates and non-vertebrates. There are animals that have a backbone known as the vertebrates, and that do not have backbone known as the invertebrates. Vertebrates came just under vertebrates. There are the reptiles, fish, amphibians, birds and mammals. Whereas invertebrates are the protozoa, flatworms, annelid worms, echinoderms, and arthropods, coleotrata, molluscs, actinians, crustaceous insects, myriapods. So guys, thank you so much for being here. In our next video, we will complete about the fungi.